ROW, ROW. Yeah!
Yeah, Eric.
Whoa! Dude,
How
the
are
most.
you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I just wanted to say you're probably the most feared man in the ring today.
Thank you. I learned it from my big brother Kane.
Wait, what did Kane eat? Because, I mean, you guys are about a foot in difference in height. So, what was Kane eating?
Jolly Green Giant canned vegetables.
Oh, man, all that sodium.
And he had more Flintstone vitamins than I did, so that usually
Oh.
did the trick. But yeah, Eric, I'm Wu Manchu the Luchador, and welcome to ROW. And how were you raised on wrestling?
I grew up on WWF before it was WWE and also WCW, but I never really watched the independent wrestling. You know, I was all about Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair and the Bushwhackers. I liked Mr. Perfect, The Undertaker, even before he was The Undertaker, when he was Mean Mark Calloway. And Jim Brunzell was also one of my favorite wrestlers, and most people don't know Jim Brunzell. He was part of the Killer Bees back in the day. They were a tag team, and then after they split up or dissolved, whatever happened, Jim Brunzell became a uh, what's it called, the Jobbers, and he was always really good. He always lost, but man, I always rooted for him. I thought Jim Brunzell's gonna win this match. He never would.
So he's just like the Brooklyn Brawler, I'm guessing. Like
Yeah,
just
Brooklyn Brawler, man, he was pretty good. And Barry Horowitz.
good
What
stuff.
about
Good
you? Who's your favorite wrestler of all time?
Sabu, hands down.
That's cool, and you got to meet him, didn't you?
Yep, I was pretty stoked. Yeah, I
It's
didn't mean
it's
to.
not.
I was just, I just held up a sign and didn't think anything of it. And then they were all kind enough, as extreme as they were all, were they just came up to us and they just broke kayfabe and just signed my poster for me.
That's pretty cool, and now you can sell that for some profit.
I guess if I could find it, I haven't. It's probably lost in the shuffle, so because I move a lot. And so
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh well, it probably got lost in the sauce somewhere. It
I didn't think
happens.
I don't think I've met any wrestlers. I don't
Really.
think no.
Out of all the conventions and the movie stuff that you've done and signings, you haven't met one.
I don't think so. Well, I mean, I used to work for Fred Olin Ray, who was Fabulous Freddie Valentine, and he wrestled Terry Funk and Honky Tonk Man. And Fred did. He was in, was it ACW? I think, and they were very independent. They were like Alabama, and I guess they did some shows in California, Florida. But I don't. I mean, Fred kind of was a little bit known. I don't think he was ever like a big superstar wrestler, but he was pretty cool.
Man, Terry Funk, he like when you said that, it took me to the time that he wrestled Sabu in that barbed wire match. Did you see that one?
I think so, like maybe late '90s, early 2000s.
Yep, where Sabu tore his bicep on the barbed wire, and he just asked his manager Bill Fawzer to give him the tape so he could wrap it so he can keep on going.
I remember that, and Terry Funk at the time was already what 55 or something. He was getting up there.
Yeah, yep. Gosh, I just recently saw a post with him and Mick Foley at his retirement home in somewhere in Texas. So I'm glad he put down the wrestling boots.
Yeah, he had to eventually. I mean, his knees were all busted up, and his back was all injured. Probably can't stand straight, and I don't know, man. You can only do it for so long, and then you gotta finally say, okay, no more.
Yep. That's why I'm glad I'm not a real professional wrestler because I don't think I would last long.
But if you were a wrestler, who would you be wrestling? Who would you challenge?
Andy Kaufman, if he was still alive.
You just don't want to pull a Freddie Blassie and break Andy Kaufman's neck.
No way. Maybe Jerry the King Lawler. I think he's still around, so I'll avenge Andy Kaufman for him.
Oh, that's right. That was Jerry Lawler, wasn't it? Instead of Freddie. Why did I think it was Freddie Blassie? Oh, maybe Freddie Blassie trained Andy Kaufman. I think I can't remember all the details now. That was I was only like 4 years old. I was probably still peeing my pants. Hell, I still pee my pants, but don't tell anybody. Wait, we're not live, are we?
We
Oh.
are.
Oh.
Oh goodness, goodness. So there you go. You met a wrestler. So even though he wasn't well known, he still wrestled some legends.
And he hangs out with Rob Van Dam, and he hung out with Sabu at least once or twice. And I wish I was in Louisiana at the time. I wish I was living in California when they came over to his Thanksgiving dinners and his Christmas dinners. I could have rubbed elbows with those guys.
Indeed, Rob Van Dam is pretty neat. He's still flexible to this day. Like I'm like goodness, he's up there. So must be the marijuana strains.
Or the steroids or something. I mean, I don't know what these guys are doing.
Indeed. So it's legalized in California, so that's nice. Well, not steroids, but
That's what I'm going to
marijuana.
invest in. So
Indeed.
is it still illegal in Florida or?
Medical is cleared, but recreational is not. Yep.
Yeah, because that's what I want to invest my money in is all the cannabis stocks. See if I can make some money. But all the lawmakers keep changing things, and the stocks keep going way down. I mean, they crashed like really bad a couple months ago.
Oh, definitely look up a new startup company and then just invest in those folks, I guess. And yeah, it's like it's starting to get better, I guess, because like Colorado's and Washington and California. I mean, I don't smoke weed or nothing because I get way too baked, and my friends
Yeah,
don't
I don't
roll
like the
with
smell
me.
of it.
Mm. Well, the smell's not too bad, but like if you're like hot boxing, then yes,
What about Ronda Rousey? Is she ever going to come back? I mean, she did kind of come back, but I don't think she's wrestling right now.
yeah. I think she's part time, like Brock Lesnar and stuff like that. So they're all part time, but they must have like
Brock
an awesome.
Lesnar is pretty good.
He's. I saw him wrestle once at Vendetta in Colorado. It was pretty awesome. Or it was awesome with
He's just
Kurt Angle and
massive.
Big
I mean,
Show. Yeah, I wonder what they feed him.
yeah, Big Show's got to be what 450 or 475 or something.
Possibly.
I
Yeah, I got.
mean,
I
when
saw
you're
somebody
that
said.
big, man, the fart's got to be just astronomically large.
it's it's possible. It's possible. But yeah, you ran like a brick and mortar movie store, and it's online now. Like, what's your favorite? When you were running the store and stuff, what's your favorite wrestling tape that you had that you always play?
I would always put in Royal Rumble because whenever the customers were there, if you just played a match with just two guys, most of the time people wouldn't pay too much attention. They just kind of glance at the TV, be like, okay, well, let's go back to the shelves. But if you had the Royal Rumble, people would start to pay attention because you would see at least five of your favorite wrestlers, if not like 10 of them, all at the same time, and you would just be mesmerized. Even though you knew the outcome, you knew that Ric Flair would win one and Hulk Hogan would win one, and you would be like, "Oh, I gotta watch this again," because the Royal Rumbles always last for what an hour or so. I mean, they last a long time, and I still sell Royal Rumbles. I think I have like one or two in stock right now, and they sell for like 20, 40, $60 each. I mean, it's good money right there.
Damn, that is nice. I love the covers because it's like always like cartoonish. That's what always
Oh yeah,
feels.
like 80s movie posters.
Yeah, like I remember going to like the mom and pop shops and like Blockbuster when they were open, and just like going to that aisle and just having my dad rent those movies for me.
But my brother was always about Starcade, um, Bash at the Beach. Uh, he liked the WCW ones, and I like the WWF ones. Even though I gotta say, like SummerSlam was just okay. Um, Even WrestleMania, I thought WrestleMania was good, but I didn't think it held a candle to Royal Rumble. I thought Royal Rumble was man, that's where the action really is.
Yeah,
Um, I don't
I
know. I
like
haven't
that.
really watched. haven't watched wrestling in years. I can't even keep up with all the new events anymore.
For sure. I feel you on that one. Like my favorite ones were the Royal Rumble and Survivor Series. Those were like my two favorites.
Is Survivor Series was that WCW or was that WWF?
WWF.
Are they still doing Survivor Series?
Yep. They have like
Oh
the
wow!
the yeah, they have the brands going up against each other. They still have the Rumble and WrestleMania, but the other ones, like the not so popular ones, just exchanged out. So
Yeah, because I knew Royal Rumble and WrestleMania were still going on, but like Survivor Series, I just never see it advertised, and nobody talks about it except like the diehards. I got like maybe two or three people on my Facebook who still post about wrestling like every other day. They watch all the Japanese wrestling and they go to the independent matches, like one in downtown LA recently. I guess a couple of my friends went there, and I never even knew about it. It's like very underground.
yeah, indeed, you gotta go check them out. They're pretty fun. I just wish like you could hear the announcers too calling the action because it just feels it doesn't feel the same though without them.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have the announcers. It's like UFC. Like without the announcers, it's like you got to have somebody rooting with you. I think.
Hmm. Most definitely. Yeah, my buddy, he wrestled in North Florida, and I drove all the way up to go see him. And I even made a sign because he was one of the refs. He even though he was a wrestler, they make him do ref work too. And so his name's Roger, so I put Ref Roger Rocks on there. So
Uh-huh.
it was in black and white. So it was fun.
Plus, as a referee, he can take the hits too. Because I know the refs always get into the action and they'll take a hit. And then I figure as a wrestler, then he already has that experience. Like just
Yep.
take a hit about 13 minutes into the match.
Indeed. Nowadays they just like when someone's bleeding they wear black gloves. And I'm like, I guess if that helps.
Uh-huh. Like Pink Abbott would wear the black gloves.
Hmm. Like my previous guest and I, we were talking about how like MMA fighters cross over to WWE and vice versa. Who's your favorite uh, other MMA fighter that crossed over to wrestling and vice versa?
I'd say probably Ken Shamrock. Shamrock was pretty good. Dan Severn, Don Fry did some wrestling over in Japan. Uh, yeah, just and then when Brock Lesnar went to the UFC, I think he was kind of the laughing stock. Everybody thought he's a big guy, but can he really fight? And he did lose that first fight against Frank Mir, and most people thought, well, he's done for. He lost his fight. He'll go back to wrestling. He goes back to the UFC and beats several guys, including Randy Couture and Frank Mir rematch. And then he beat Shane Carwin, and that was Shane Carwin's first loss. And I think at this point, people realize, like, wow, Brock Lesnar, maybe he's not a joke; he's the real deal. And then he took some time off, came back, beat Mark Hunt, even though he did have some steroids in his system. So I guess that was what a no contest. But I don't know. I think Brock might have one last fight left in him. I don't know if he can win at this age. He's got to be what 41 or something, 43. He's getting up there.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I remember like when I see him fight, like when he like got he like came back from the loss to Fake Me, or it was like watching like a big bear like wrestling like the jolly like the ranger from Yogi Bear, like it's just like getting mauled. Oh
Yeah,
man.
he's just huge. Brock has to be what 300 pounds or something, 290.
Yeah, I guess like the only like the max weight is like 270, 265, 275, I think. So he had
Oh
to
wow.
shrink a little bit. Yeah.
So basically, he like the night before, he's like, "Oh, I got to poop off 10 pounds." So he's just eating Mexican food like crazy, and he's like, "I hit the weight."
Well, it is Cinco de Mayo, so maybe he'll drop 10 more pounds and fight. I guess there is a
Oh, that's
UFC fight this weekend, so you never know.
yeah. I think UFC this weekend is. Oh, Gaethje, or how do you pronounce his name?
Hmm.
Gaethje versus I don't remember who he's fighting, but that's going to be a pretty good match though, because both of those guys are really good.
Indeed. Yeah, we always go to this oyster pub in Daytona Beach, where the NWO was formed at Dash at the Beach, like a couple years ago. Well, like it has to be 20 almost 20 years ago. I'm guessing, maybe more.
Yeah, I think NWO was formed in like maybe '97 or something, '98.
Yep. Gosh, that was a long time ago, and that's what spawned this whole thing. Was like when Buff Bagwell came to town, and they needed a venue for his podcast. I was like, yeah, I can help you out with that, and so that's what whole kickstarted ROW, and so we can talk about wrestling and stuff. It's awesome.
Is
So,
Buff Bagwell still wrestling?
yeah, I saw him in GCW, Game Changer Wrestling, and he fought like Joey Janela. So he's a new guy. He took a kick to the face. So
Oh wow.
yeah.
And he looks different, doesn't he? I think I saw a photo of him and he just looks like a completely different person nowadays.
I think so. Yeah, he in person he looks different for sure. Definitely he aged. It's been a while since he was in the wrestling industry. But yeah,
Plus, he
he's a
did one of those late night Cinemax movies with a
did
bunch of naked ladies.
well, I've never seen it, but I asked him about his film career too. Well, I talked about his reality show. I guess it's a reality show called Gigolos, and then he talked briefly about his movie career too. He did like two movies. So speaking of wrestlers in movies, what are some of your favorite wrestlers in movies?
Roddy Piper and They Live.
Yeah, that's a good
Um,
one.
Hulk Hogan in No Holds Barred. Um, Big Show did one where he's on a bus and he has to use the bathroom. I'm trying to think what that was called. That movie was all right. It was funny. Um, but the Marine movies, they're okay. I know they got what, John Cena and Million Dollar Man's son is in I think two of them, and then the Miz, Demise. Wow, who's that guy?
Oh, The Miz.
The Miz. I'm like, who, the Miz? What kind of a name is that? So he's in like part five. But those Marine movies, they're not all that good. They're okay. But I like John Cena, but I don't really know if I really like too many of his films. I don't know. Like, what's John Cena's best movie or best two or three films?
There was that romantic comedy with Amy Schumer that was pretty funny.
Oh, Trainwreck.
Yeah, that's the one. Well, it's like the whole theater scene and stuff. I don't know. He just cracks me up in that movie for some reason.
I'm trying to think of other wrestlers in movies. Big John Studd was in a Jackie Chan movie called The Protector back in 1985, and of course, Big John Studd's one of the bad guys, but that's a fun film. Um, Andre the Giant was in The Princess Bride, which I know a lot of people like that movie. I've tried to sit down and watch that thing two or three times. I'm just bored by it. It's not my cup of tea. I think
Oh,
Andre the Giant could have done like a horror film as the bad guy. I mean, can you imagine you're like peering around with a flashlight and like, Andre the Giant, and you know he's 7 foot tall and, and he's got an axe and he just like chops your head off.
oh man, that'd be great. I'm surprised we can both see John Cena. Because we can't. Nobody can. Nobody else can see him. You know what else? I think he should be in like one of the new Predator movies. It'd be a challenge for the Predator.
That'd be cool. There is a new Predator coming out that takes place in what, the 1700s or 1800s. I think it's like in the Wild West with all these Indians and cowboys and stuff, and the Predator comes down and, of course, kills everybody. I mean, what else is the plot? But I was thinking about female wrestlers, like Tori and Sable. Did they ever do a movie? I mean, maybe they did like one movie. But of course, Ronda's done a few cool ones. Expendables Part 3, and she was in one of the Fast and the Furious films.
Indeed, I remember Tori and Sable were in those adult magazines back in the day when during the Attitude Era.
Yeah,
Like
I
I,
they were in Playboy.
yep, and they were. That's the one because like I remember getting in trouble for bringing my Sable one to high school, and you're not supposed to do that when you're a kid.
And you're like, I just collected it for the wrestling backstories. And they're like, well, how come there's a photo of her tits hanging out?
Indeed, she's married to Brock Lesnar too, and so I think
Oh,
they're still
that's
married.
right.
Yeah,
He's married to a much older woman because Brock's like 43 and she's like 50, I think, or 51. But
age ain't
you know
nothing
what
but
they
a
do?
number.
You know what they do every single day, though?
What's
Humping. Lots of humping.
Oh goodness, Eric. Watch Brock Lesnar watch this, and he'll be in Long Beach looking for you.
Oh man, no, I will send you a photo of the Playboy magazine where I wrote a letter, and it says something about Sable and Tori can pin me, in the ring anytime they want to, or something like that. And I kept it because I was like, hey, my name's in there in Mount Olive, Illinois, and I just that was gosh 20 almost 20 years ago, I think 2003 or so.
So they published it.
Yeah, I could not believe it. I was like, I'm gonna write a little letter to Playboy. As long as you keep it real short, and they'll publish
Wow,
it.
that's good stuff. Yeah,
Oh man.
I was thinking about being the next Hugh Hefner or the new Larry Flint because they were both gone, and they kind of need a journalist slash superhero to take their place.
Exactly. Plus, I mean, you could, hook up with those ladies for interview purposes.
Oh goodness, the old casting couch. That's why I miss. That's why I miss Los Angeles. It was just those crazy places. I tell you what.
Yeah, I wish they would have done some kind of like a sweepstakes giveaway saying, Hugh Hefner is gone now, but we're going to give away the Playboy Empire to one lucky contestant just so you could live in the mansion and then you could just. I mean, it'd be kind of sleazy, but you would suddenly get all these ladies because they'd be like, "Well, this guy's a millionaire. He lives in a mansion. He owns a magazine and a website, and those ladies will do anything to get to the top."
That's what I heard about Los Angeles. But I'm glad I was never invited to those pool parties or nothing. There's just those wild times. But is the Playboy Mansion still open, or do they close it after Hugh passed away?
Yeah, because the son is living there now, and the son took over. I don't remember what the son's name is. Hefner, Kyle Hefner, I think. I think maybe he was dating one of the playmates. Because I think that's like the golden rule is that you can't date any like normal chicks. They have to be playmates. You can only date the playmates. The top of the line ladies, the big implants.
Jeez, oh man, that's lucky guy. He doesn't. It's like an arranged marriage, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think there's any tours of the Playboy Mansion anymore that I know of. Maybe I should look into it because I'd like to go there and check it out.
I'm sure you have connections that'll help get you in the door.
Well, I used to know Chuck McCann, and Chuck was friends with Hefner, and he would go over there all the time. But Chuck's dead now, and trying to think if I know anybody that goes to the Playboy Mansion.
Indeed, for sure. Man, speaking of like those wild, like naughty matches, they had some intense lady matches in those the attitude eras, like the lingerie matches and the bra and panties matches. And I remember like listening to like Jerry the King Lawler yelling puppies and stuff. I'm like, you gotta get it under control, Jerry the King Lawler. But they can get like back then they can get away with anything, saying anything and showing things on TV, but not so much now. And I think it's
Yeah,
because of like,
remember?
oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say back then they were drinking beer and they were cussing in front of like kids, and I'm like, what are they doing?
Well, that's the new AEW now. They're cussing and drinking beer on screen. So it's
So let's see, what's what's the most popular wrestling companies? So WWE, AEW, and then who else is there?
There's Impact. ROH just got bought out by Tony Khan from AEW, and New Japan's still there, and that's good. New Japan's
Heck
been
yeah,
around for a
man.
long time.
I just wish they would bring back WCW because Ted Turner has all that money still. He could easily say, you know what, guys, I'm 75 years old. I'm a multimillionaire. We're gonna bring back WCW. And but then Ted Turner actually has to get into the matches like Vince McMahon. Ted Turner's taking the steroids and getting huge, and he's like, I own this town. I'm gonna destroy you all. You guys are nothing.
Well, there's like I guess so. Well, AEW's on TNT and TBS. Well, like they have like every once in a while they'll be on TNT, but they're on TBS mainly. So I guess that's a Ted Turner's new company. I don't know if Ted Turner's still involved with TBS. I don't know, but
I don't know. He kind of disappeared ever since he got divorced from Jane Fonda. I don't know what he does. I mean, he probably like plays horseshoes all day long or something.
possibly. I mean, or cornhole. I mean, they're all popular here in the South.
Oh, I was wondering, what about wrestling video games? Did you play a lot of video games that were wrestling oriented back in the day?
Oh yeah, I played all the SmackDown video games. I had all of those ones. Those were my favorites. Like the early SmackDown video games were just my favorites. As soon as it switched over to like SmackDown versus Raw, I was just like, nah. I was like more like the Here Comes the Pain and all that stuff, and because like it was just fun to create wrestlers and I created Neo once from the Matrix because you can like pause him and then make the camera rotate around him like it was like the Matrix. So that was like my favorite thing about that video game.
That's pretty cool.
Yep, and I played Raw and Genesis, and I was a Genesis kid and a Nintendo kid as well. So I had video games on those ones too. So I think I
Mhm.
played like the WCW game with like the Road Warriors on the cover of it too, when it was on the NES. And
Yeah, was that? I don't know if that was WrestleMania or which one that was. I know I used to play WrestleMania, and I would always play either Hulk Hogan or Andre the Giant or Randy Savage, and maybe Big Boss Man was on that game too. I don't remember, and that's so long ago, over 30 years ago, man. But
indeed,
that's what I'm going to be doing when I reopen my store, the Empire. It's going to have arcades, and I thought I got to have one wrestling arcade in there. I just don't know which one though, which one I should get.
so many options. I'd probably put like a retro one in there, like The Simpsons or something.
Heck yeah.
Yep, indeed, good stuff. And speaking of, you can donate to Eric's all his information is on below in the description box below. So yep, I have your Amazon, your PayPal, your Twitter, your website, and all that good stuff. So they everyone at home can buy stuff from you, like old
Cool. Thank you.
Royal Rumble tapes and all those. Make those 20, 40, $60 for you.
Yeah, I think I got probably at least three wrestling DVDs in stock right now. I just can't remember which ones. I think maybe there's a Survivor Series in there. One of them had Stone Cold on it. I remember because Stone Cold for the longest time was like their big ticket. It was always Stone Cold or Goldberg. Those were like the two biggest wrestlers, like the early 2000s, 2005, around there.
Indeed, they sort of look the same and everything, but they're with their goatees and stuff and their
You
wild
know,
attitude. I
who
was
still looks the same after all these years is Virgil. Virgil still looks the same 30 years later.
Diesel man. You've seen him around and stuff.
Yeah, I see him. He does all these conventions, and usually there's like nobody at his table. I feel sorry for the guy, but I think it was great that he went from being I guess you could call him sidekick, to being his own entity. He was like, you know what? I don't need the $1 million man. I'm Virgil. I'm gonna wrestle too. And he started getting bigger and bigger and lifting the weights and eating his potatoes, and then he just started wrestling, and I think that's all he does now. He sets up at like flea markets and whatnot. He'll just set up his table. I'm Virgil. Come on down, get your autograph for $30. You want a photo? $20.
Indeed. I don't know how those conventions work. Like my buddy said that they get paid their flat rate before they set up tables and stuff, and then everything else just goes to the convention to make their money back or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be because the celebrities don't want to go out and do an autograph show if hardly anybody's going to show up. Like, I just went to a horrible convention in Valencia. It was a comic book show. I think total they had like 75 people show up. I was just like, did you guys advertise this? And good thing there was no celebrities there because they'd be super angry if 75 people at a convention. That's horrible. I was expecting at least 500 or 1,000.
Yep, that's the worst when no one goes out and supports. And was this like during the, or you guys are still during in the pandemic? We're not so much, but was that recently?
Oh yeah, that was just 2 or 3, maybe 3 months ago.
Dang.
Yeah, but then I did the LA Comic Con a few months before that, and that had like 75 or 85,000 people. So I mean, people are definitely still going out. But that convention in Valencia, oh my God, can you imagine if like the Iron Sheik was there and had his table? He would literally throw his table and start doing some elbow drops on people and putting chokeholds on people because he would be so upset.
Oh man, I love his documentary. Like, it's free on YouTube at the moment. So have you watched it yet?
I don't think I saw that one. No, I think maybe I saw another. I actually have a DVD of, but it's not the Iron Sheik. It's the Sheik before him because there was two Sheiks. I think I have a documentary on the other Sheik who's dead now.
Mm,
But even the Iron Sheik himself, he's 80 or 81 years old, man. He's getting up there.
dude, his Twitter is hilarious. So if you ever get a chance, read his tweets. They are great.
Who I always wanted to meet was Sergeant Slaughter. I thought he was cool.
Indeed, he's coming back now. I guess like he's getting involved with GI Joe again. So
Oh, nice. That's pretty cool. I was always about GI Joe when I was a little kid.
indeed, absolutely, yeah, GI Joe was pretty awesome. Yep.
who who is your favorite wrestler of all time? Do you have a singular favorite wrestler? Oh yeah, you said Sabu. That's right. But what about number two? Who's number two?
Number two, good lord. I'd have to say like Sting is probably my second.
That's pretty cool, man. What did you think about when he came back and he had the trench coat and he's got the baseball bat and now this time he's like the Crow?
I think it was much needed. He's always evolving, and then like TNA, he sort of turned into the Joker, and then now he's back to the black and white Sting because he's in AEW now.
I'm glad he's still going, man.
Yeah, he's over 6 years old, and he keeps on jumping off like like onto tables and stuff from like big old heights. It's pretty awesome. How about yourself? Who's your favorite and number two guy?
I would say Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is my all-time favorite. I always thought he was the best, and his training regimen was just fantastic. He would do these squats going up the steps. He would do like 300 squats up the steps and then 300 squats back, and then his he would be training with a partner, and they would pick up his legs, and he'd have to walk up those steps on his hands, and that's how he got so strong and in such great shape. That's why he was able to do these fantastic matches against like Randy Savage, these hour-long matches. Like, how does somebody have that stamina in them? And it's because of his background. So Ricky Steamboat was always number one. Uh, Number two, I always like Roddy Piper, but I don't know. Who was underrated was Two Code Scorpio. He was
Mm.
pretty awesome, man. Way back in the day, flying around, and he's still wrestling. I just found out he's still at it. He's gained a little bit of weight, but he's still doing a lot of the moves.
Wow, that's good stuff. What do you think of the movie like The Wrestler?
I only saw parts of it. I never saw the whole thing. You know, I saw maybe half an hour of it. And it was pretty good. I actually want to sit down and watch it one of these days. I just whenever I'm out and about, I never see a copy of it anywhere. It's like everybody who bought it, they keep that movie. Nobody's selling that movie.
Indeed, it is a good one. It'll make you cry. I don't know, it made me cry. It was a very emotional flick. Yep. Oh man, good stuff. And like some of those like wrestlers, I think I've seen them in yeah, most definitely. I've seen The Undertaker in comic books, and I know you sell comic books. What are you some of? Do you have any favorite wrestling comic books?
Gosh, I don't even know if I've ever read any wrestling comic books. I just never come across them. You know, I'm surprised there's not a Royal Rumble comic book or a Ricky the Dragon Steamboat comic or something. I don't know. Like, which ones do you recommend?
Definitely the Undertaker ones. Those are like my favorite ones.
That's pretty cool. Like in the Undertaker comics, is he more supernatural, like where he comes out of the ground and he does the tombstone like permanently, where he kills his enemies and like blood everywhere? Are they violent?
They're not that violent, but they're worth checking out because he was definitely one of my other favorites too. Like if I created a Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, I mean, we talked about my previous guest and I talked about our Mount Rushmores of wrestlers, and I picked one from each company, but uh, yep. But I can't remember which ones. I know that Sabu and Sting were on them already. But how about yourself? Who were your favorite? If you had a Mount Rushmore of wrestlers from each company that you grew up watching, which ones would you put on there?
So definitely Ricky Steamboat, but then I'd also put Hacksaw Jim Duggan on there. He's always one of my favorites. I would put on definitely Ric Flair. I mean, Ric Flair was wrestling up until like 2010 or so, and 2008, something like that. And I think still holds the record for the most championship titles. So Ric Flair is definitely up there. Hulk Hogan, when I was a kid, my dad looked like Hulk Hogan. He had the long blonde hair, and he's like 260 pounds. And my brother and I, would go around and we'd go like this, and we'd do all the different moves and whatnot. And we would do leg drops on each other. We would put a pillow on the ground and then do a leg drop on it. And my brother would go, 1, 2, 3, and we go, we were just little kids and goofing off. And uh, I don't know. I'm trying to think. The Great Muda, he's also one of the best. The Great Muda from Japan. Um, from ECW, I guess Rob Van Dam, because I always thought he was cool. I always thought the fact that he wore camouflage pants was awesome, because when I was a kid, I wore camouflage pants a lot, and I always emulated Jean Claude Van Damme. And I know Rob Van Dam kind of came from that a little bit. And so, yeah, I always wanted more martial arts oriented wrestlers, like Steve Blackwell. Is that his name?
Blackman, I think.
Yeah, he was a martial arts guy. And then Great Muda would sometimes do his martial arts moves, but Ricky Steamboat, I don't. He always had the headband that was had the Japanese sun on it. I think I don't remember if Ricky did a lot of martial arts moves. Every once in a while, he would do a chop or a side kick, but not a whole lot of stuff. Because I don't think in real life, I don't think he was a martial artist. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up.
Indeed, I just remember him breathing fire out and all that good stuff. That was pretty neat.
Yeah, and he had something on his back, like these wings that he would flare out.
Yep. I love like wrestlers and their animals. They're the best. Like Coco Beware and his parrot, and like Jake the Snake with his snake and stuff like that. It's just those were the days when they can bring animals to the ring.
Oh yeah, I guess nobody does that anymore, do they? Because there's so many people in the crowd. If you bring a dog, the dog would freak out and they'd be like, "Oh gosh, this just ruined the whole storyline," and all the wrestlers would be out there not sure what to do because they're like, "Well, my dialogue involves the dog. I'm gonna have to do some improv. I could never do that. I would just freak out and be like, guys, can we reset and do another take? And he'd be like, no, this is live. You got 40,000 people in the audience. But I think that would be great just to do one wrestling match, just to train and beef up a little bit and practice over and over and over, and just to do that one wrestling match.
Indeed. Like now, like everyone just pretends they're an animal, so that works out too.
But you know who I'd like to wrestle is Ronda Rousey. Yeah.
I bet you would, Eric. Good lord.
Well, yeah. I wasn't even talking about in the ring. I
You are
think her
so
husband would probably.
naughty. Yeah, he would.
Her her husband's a big dude too, Travis Brown. Yeah, he would clothesline me and knock me unconscious.
Good grief. But yeah, like she took Roddy Piper's was blessed with his former self, and so I've seen a lot of like wrestlers being recycled like that, or like not recycled, but paying homage to the past. But so she took that one, and like I don't know, like there's so many more that just drew inspiration from the past. And out of all the things that they have like in the world, they could just bring in new stuff. I mean, AEW has like a dinosaur. His name is Luchasaurus. He's like one of my favorites.
Is he a really big dude or?
Yeah, he's definitely a big dude, and he's like he has a dinosaur mask and everything. So.
I wonder who's the tallest wrestler right now. There's got to be somebody who's like 7 foot or 7'3" or something.
Oh yeah, there are a couple. There are a couple. There's like Omos in WWE, and there's a new one that just debuted in AEW, and gosh, Paul White wrestles here and there, which is a big show. He changed the name to Paul White. So,
Oh, I had no idea.
yep. If his old stick is no BS, that's his like video. So see,
Uh-huh.
there's it stands for Bologna and his old initials from WWE. So,
So Paul White, is he in AEW now?
yep, he does
Oh
commentary
wow.
mostly. So,
But
yep.
I guess every once in a while, if he wants to, he can jump back into the ring and say, "I still got it, man. I still got the stuff," and throw an elbow.
He's in shape. He's shredded a lot of fat, so he's back to his muscular build. So,
That's good, man, because he's got to be like 50 by now.
yep. Which reminds me that I should hit the gym sometime too. If I need to keep my superhero figure, gotta do it.
Do you
But
still want to do a wrestling match at some point? Like, is that something you've tried to go for?
oh no, I was bad in karate class. I'm pretty bad in wrestling, and I don't know. I mean, DDP did it when he was my age, and he did pretty well. But I don't know. It's all those bumps and bruises. I don't think I can handle them. I'm a big softy.
Yeah, Diamond Dallas Page, he sure did retire early, didn't he? And then he got into such great shape with his program, all the yoga and everything. I always hoped that. I don't think he ever came back, did he?
He did show up in AEW like a couple years ago, but he's just rehabilitating former wrestlers like Buff Bagwell and Scott Hall when he was alive, and Jake the Snake Roberts and stuff. So he opened his home to like rehab a bunch of wrestlers and stuff like that. So that's really nice of him.
I just wonder if he does classes for regular people like us that we can say, "Hey DDP, can we pay you $100 for whatever?" We come over and he goes, "Okay, guys, here's some yoga moves. Breathe in, breathe out." And we're like, "Yeah, man, DDP is teaching us the moves."
I'm pretty sure. Like I was talking to Buff, and he said there is a fee to live in his house and like get rehabilitated. So it's good. He'll probably do that for you.
That'd be pretty cool, man. And then maybe
Yeah,
you can get an autograph. Say, "Hey, we just paid you $100. Can we also get an autograph too?"
indeed. Well, you never know unless you reach out to him, and he'll teach you how to do the diamond cutter and the self high fives and stuff too.
One wrestler we haven't talked about is The Rock. One of the all-time greats. and his father was also a great wrestler. But do you like any of The Rock's movies?
Yeah, I watched a few of them, but like he's no. Well, I haven't seen any of his Fast and Furious movies. Those are just like not my cup of teas. But but lately, like I'm on Twitter and like me and this other person that's on Twitter are having the Rock gift war. So we just reply each other with gifts. It's pretty fun. So
What
it
about Skyscraper? Did you see that one?
nope, I haven't seen it. I
It's
felt
it's a
bad.
Die Hard ripoff, but I kind of enjoyed it, man. It's pretty good.
Indeed. I'm glad you
Hobbs and
watch his
Shaw,
movies. Yeah, I haven't seen that either. I'm pretty
The
bad at
Rundown.
watching movies. Indeed, I just.
Well, now, oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, with the Empire gone now, like, where do you buy most of your movies?
Oh, I just pretty much watch the free movies on YouTube and just turn off the ads, so that doesn't
Uh-huh.
disrupt me. So, um, and then I watch just like the free ones that are on there. I watch. I go to the theaters that are open, and just I usually go to like the mom and pop theaters. Those are my favorites. I'm not much of a fan of like the big chain ones.
Mhm.
All those independent theaters are my favorite kind of places because they show movies that aren't on the regular big screens. How about yourself?
Nowadays I'm going to like Goodwill a lot and Salvation Army. There's a store called Book Off. There's like five or six in this area. I go there a lot. Just went to Amoeba Records the other day. Eddie Brand's Saturday Matinee is moving to a different location. I don't know where they're going to move to, but they've been closed down for like at least a year, if not more. Um, Now, sometimes I still buy stuff on Amazon, but I still like going to the flea markets and just getting the cheap stuff and just looking around and getting the obscure movies. Stuff like I Like to Hurt People. Do you know that one?
No.
That was a wrestling movie from 1985, and it was really low budget. I think Andre the Giant was in it. Um, I'm trying to think who else was in it. There's a couple of wrestlers, and then there was Grunt, the wrestling movie. Then there was Body Slam with Roddy Piper right before he did Hell Comes to Frogtown. But yeah, I like watching those really just obscure wrestling films from the 80s, you know? I'm trying to think if there's maybe, oh, there's Tag Team, or no, was it? No, it wasn't called Tag Team. It was called Bad Guys with Adam Baldwin, and that was a wrestling movie.
Indeed. Yeah, I love going to the flea markets too. There's one in Daytona Beach that I go to, and I have my vest that I make, that I'm having made, and just having patches sewn onto them. So it's good stuff. Yep, I picked
When are
up.
you going to visit?
Oh, go ahead.
Are you going to come to California again to visit sometime?
Probably not. I I just had my fun, and that was about it. I get bored and I just keep on moving. It. I would like to go visit there, but I don't see it in my forecast anytime soon. I was supposed to go like 2 years ago. I think I messaged you about like I was part of a comedy festival and you had to be vaccinated to enter the venue, and so I wasn't
Yeah.
vaccinated, so I couldn't perform. So oh well. I did other festivals instead. I got picked for like 10 of them and I turned down four.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what happens when I do stand up instead of horror movies. Speaking of horror movies and wrestlers, which ones are your favorites that have wrestlers in them in the horror movies?
I wish I could say "See No Evil" with Kane. I mean, it's okay. It didn't have substance. It didn't have any heart. It was just a slasher film, and I like slasher films, but they need to have something more. Um, I'm trying to think other horror films with wrestlers. Gosh, I'm kind of blank right now because the ones that like there was one called WrestleManiac, I think, and even that was just okay. Um, I honestly can't. Well, there's a guy named Brick Bronski who just died of COVID a couple months ago. He was a wrestler and he was in a trauma film called Class of Nukem High Part 2, which is not a horror movie. It's more of an exploitation, like sex comedy goofball movie. But Brick Bronski, man, he was pretty cool. I wish he could have had a film career. I think he was in maybe three movies total, and I don't remember who he wrestled for. I think he was always independent. I don't think he was ever WCW or WWF back in the day. Um, I don't know what wrestling horror films or horror films with wrestlers do you recommend?
Well, See No Evil was okay, like you said. Um, I'm sure there's like others that come to mind. Um, so I'm pretty sure if they have like, I mean, hmm, let's see here. That's the only one that comes to mind. I mean, there's other ones that were just not that great. Well, I don't know. Yeah, there's just none that come to mind actually.
Yeah,
How
that's
about
the thing. It's like that's something they should capitalize on and say, hey, we're gonna make um, a horror movie and we're gonna have some wrestlers in it. You know, the Bushwhackers, there's these crazy backwoods rednecks with chainsaws, and they just go around killing people. That would have been a big hit back in the day.
indeed? Well, you did mention Rowdy Piper and They Live, and so I'm like I love John Carpenter, so that was definitely one of the top notch ones. But I need to see CM Punk and Girl on the Third Floor. That looks like an interesting movie.
Oh yeah, that just came out last year, I think. I want to say they shot that in New York, or maybe was that Los Angeles?
Mm. And
My
there's The
friend
Rock.
Alyssa Dowling was in it.
Oh, sweet. There's also The Rock and Doom too, which I think I watched it, but I can't remember it. Ugh. I feel bad because like I should support The Rock more often, but I don't really watch any of his stuff.
Yeah, The Rock unfortunately does have a lot of films that are just so so. Um, unfortunately, for a while he did a movie called Driver that I barely remember. I mean, a lot of them just don't stand out. Um,
Like if it was Baby Driver, then that would be nice. That was a good one.
was that the Edgar Wright movie?
I think so. Yeah. And then I guess like I think like my favorite wrestler that's in movies is probably Dave Batista.
Who's that?
Batista. Dave
Oh
Batista.
yeah, Batista. I'm trying to think. What did I see him in? Army of the Dead. There we go. Army of the Dead is probably my favorite horror movie with a wrestler in it. I
Ah,
mean, because They Live is more. I mean, it's not quite horror. I don't know. How would you describe They Live? I guess action thriller, sci-fi. I guess is really what it is.
hmm. Yep, good call on that one. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed him in The Man with the Iron Fists. I went to that midnight premiere when it was at the ArcLight in Hollywood. That was a fun one for sure.
Well, that was probably so. Was that like 2007 or 2009 or something? Or
It had to be like 2000. Like after that for sure, because like
had I
um,
already moved to Louisiana at the time, or
I think so. It was yeah, it was. You probably did move. It was 2012.
oh yeah, so I was already in Louisiana.
Oh, what was
Yeah,
that like living in Louisiana?
it rained a lot over there, that's for sure. I don't think I ever saw any. I didn't see any wrestling matches when I lived in Louisiana, but I did see two mixed martial arts fights, and that was pretty cool.
Indeed, I've
I even
seen
was
two.
gonna do one. Those guys don't make hardly any money though. They make like $300 for a fight or something.
Yeah. See, and I thought, well, like anything that has the word art or arts in it, we don't get paid much either. Like comedy doesn't have performance arts doesn't have money in it.
Art equals no money. Fart equals a lot of money.
Oh man, art with farts and hearts. Good stuff. Good stuff. Oh man, good times that were had. Yeah, you lived everywhere, like Illinois and Louisiana, California. Where else would you like to move to?
Florida.
Really?
Yeah, Florida has great weather. It rains enough. It doesn't seem too expensive. I mean, is it pretty kind of affordable?
It's now the most expensive state to live in America now.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, what happened?
Because the pandemic stopped 4 months in, and so everybody moved here in Texas,
Oh,
and that made
damn.
like the housing market just skyrocket.
We got too
Yeah.
many people. We got like 320 million people in America now.
Mm-hmm.
What we should
So,
do is have a 320 million people Royal Rumble and
yeah.
just start throwing people into the ocean. So we don't have space for you.
Right. And like everyone, said bad things about Florida, but then they saw how much freedom we were having, and then they just said, we don't want to wear any more masks, like, and then we don't want any more of these rules and stuff, and they just all came down here. I'm like, God, that's just great. It's
Heck
like,
yeah, man.
I'm like, you guys should have made fun of us, and everyone's like, don't California or Texas, and don't Texas or Colorado, and now don't US or Florida.
But if I couldn't move to Florida, I would definitely move to Nevada because Nevada it's a lot cheaper than California and there's pretty good weather. But also, I'm kind of a gambling addict, so that way I could be
Mm.
around the casinos and like every Friday slip into a casino and spend 20 or 30 bucks just every Friday, and just eventually you're gonna win something.
And there's a nice film scene there in Vegas too. So, and then you can just always go to LA and shoot.
Oh yeah, I just shot a movie in Nevada last year in Searchlight, which is I don't know, 30, I think like 30 miles south of Las Vegas, and the weather was just perfect and there's always something to do. And um but my ex roommate lives in Las Vegas and he screwed me out of a security deposit. And so I wouldn't want to encounter that guy again because he goes to all the horror conventions and he goes to all the horror toy shops and the video stores and all that stuff, record shops.
Is that the one that I met?
Yes, yes. The
Oh,
guy with the
okay.
beard. They called him
Mm.
the caveman because he never cut his hair and he never shaved. And I don't even know if he really took a shower every day.
Oh man, I mean, I don't shower every day. It's like, why should I? I'm never
Oh god, I
around.
was wondering what that smell was.
I mean, I'm never around enough people, anyways. I'm like, I'm just gonna just enjoy my stench. No, I'm not that bad. I sniffed myself, and I'm like, I don't smell bad after like showering after a couple days.
What do you do for work now over in Florida?
I'm a male escort.
Oh man.
I'm only. Oh, no, not really. Well, I did go on a date once. I didn't know I was on a date, and then they slipped me $100. I'm like, I guess I'm a male escort now. I guess so. That's
Oh
where that
wow.
came from. Yeah,
Or
they.
was it a much older lady and maybe she thought you needed money for school the next day?
Yeah.
Paint your cheekies.
They were like, for less than 25 cents a day, you can give me breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it was inflation. So,
Yeah, you could say you're a Cambodian refugee and you need money. You're like, I came here to America to live my dream. I just need $100.
indeed, good stuff for sure. All right, Eric. So, if you can, your dream, like, guests on the show, they could be pro wrestlers and stuff, and or like their managers or whatever. Which wrestlers or managers or people in that industry would you like to see as my guest? Pick five of them, and hopefully they'll come true.
Pick five. Let's see. I'd like to see Hulk Hogan. Let's see. Of course, Ricky Steamboat, Sid Justice or Sid Vicious, because I guess he had two different names, Um, the millionaire man, $1 million man, Ted DiBiase. And number 5 would be, gosh, I really just don't even know. I guess Coco Beware. I'm sure he's gonna be funny.
Good stuff. Indeed, Eric. So, are there any final words you'd like to give out to the audience at home?
Keep wrestling, and if somebody's pushing you around in life and they're trying to throw you over the top rope, do whatever you can to make sure that you're not thrown out of that ring. If you got to throw some elbows and do some headbutts, if you got to cheat in life, if you got to do a little Von Erich grip and claw them in the eye at the same time, or you got to stick your finger up their nose and do fish hooking, whatever you got to do to make sure you're not thrown over that top rope. I want you to be the final man in the Royal Rumble.
Indeed. Sweetness. So, if you'd like, you can bring us out the way we came in with some ROW chants if you'd like, and then we'll just sign off after that.
ROW, 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 ROW.